Well, imagine this. You're asleep in bed when suddenly your partner screams out for you and then you rush to find them on fire. Well, that is the terrifying story of our next guests who had to recover from the ordeal, then rebuild their lives and their home. Suzanne and David Laylaw join us now from their home in Perth. It's nice to see you two. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. Suzanne, take us through that night that happened back in 1988. How did you first know that this fire had started? What did you hear? What did you see?
I didn't actually know that a fire had started. I just woke up. I'd only been asleep about 5 minutes, and I just woke up with this gut-wrenching scream of my husband just screaming, "Susie, Susie!" And I just jumped out of bed and flung open the bedroom door, and what was in front of me was the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It was my husband standing in the bath with the shower full bore on top of him. The pressure was just sending water everywhere, and he was fully alight from head to toe. The noise was roaring, the smell was horrific of burning skin and burning paint, and his everything was melting off him, his face, his ears. It was just horrific.
Wow, David, the pain must have been absolutely intense. What do you remember of that night?
Well, actually, there wasn't really any pain. I think that shock takes over for us when we're faced with situations like that, so we don't actually feel pain, so that we can go into survival mode. The pain was intense afterward, but not actually at the time, and so I thought I was dying. Basically, I thought that this was it. And I was taking my last few breaths, so that's basically what I was thinking about what was next, really, which was, I thought, was death.
What actually happened?
How did the fire start?
It was spontaneous combustion. David wanted to put a cap of petrol on the fireplace, this fireplace that we're in front of, and it didn't actually get anywhere near this room, but the static electricity from his jumper and the coat he was wearing on top of it, as he opened the can of petrol, caused it to explode in his face and his hands, and he nearly burnt most of his fingers off.
Gosh. Suzanne, how did you manage...
Just a freak accident.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. How did you manage to escape the house, and how did you put David out?
I just picked up the towels that were there in the bathroom and smothered the flames as quickly as I could, and then that's when I realised that the house was on fire, because the fire was just down the hall, and I just thought, I've got to get out of here as quickly as I can. So I just gently guided him out of the bathroom and straight out into the backyard and got him into the pool as quickly as I could, and the whole, I just had to save him and get us out of here.
Wow. And what was the damage, first of all, to you, David, and to the house as well? What did you have to go through, first of all?
Well, I had third-degree burns to 35% of my body, and so it was a huge ordeal. I actually died, and I was in ICU for a while, and then I was in burns unit. Amazing people looked after me, absolutely incredible. People helped me through the ordeal, but a number of skin grafts and operations, many actually, about 30 all up, to get me together, physio. Lots and lots of work, and over the next few years, pretty much, the house was gutted, but it was insured, so we had the house redone. So that was fortunate.
Suzanne, you were holding your husband in the pool while your house essentially burned. That must have just been such an awful situation to be in, not knowing what to do. You said you screamed out to a neighbour, you banged on a neighbour's door to get them to call the ambulance. The ambulance took for what felt forever to reach you. Much of the house was destroyed, but you decided to stay and rebuild. Why is that? Most people would want to leave.
Yeah, the thing was, it was our first home. We just bought it, so we had new carpets, we had freshly painted everything, and it was covered in soot, but it was the front part of the house that was gutted. So it was, while my husband was in ICU and in hospital dying, the easiest thing to do was just to ring the insurance company and say, redo all of this, because we just had it all done. So that way I didn't have to choose carpet, I didn't have to choose paint colours, curtain colours, and it was our first home, it was our dream home, and so I just thought that was the easiest way. I didn't even think of not coming back here. I was still living here even when it was gutted. I don't know why, but I was living in a burnt shell, really.
Yeah. And look, this was 1988, so fast forward, what have you learned? And I know you've put it into a book, because you've had other issues, starting businesses, etc. So what, after all these years, can you tell people? What do you want them to learn?
Really that, you know, we have a lot of challenges that get thrown us through our life, and each of these challenges creates a deeper understanding of ourselves and the people that are important to us. And alongside this, a lot of people run businesses as well, and I've been a business coach for 10 years, and so often I've just seen families that are having their business destroy them, or their lives destroy their business. So what I decided to do was write a story about how people can plan their business better alongside the challenges that life throws up at us, so that the business can give you a life rather than take it away from you, because other things happen along while we're trying to run a business.
Yep, life gets in the way, lots. And what's your plan, particularly relevant in COVID times?
Absolutely, and I wrote this before COVID, and as I'm reading, when I'm editing it, it's constantly saying, you know, when things happen out of your control, you know, what are the things that you can do that are in your control, and it's not about what you can't do, it's what about you can do. And it's so ironic that as I read it, I'm now looking at it with different eyes and thinking, wow, this is so appropriate now for business owners, not to get in a deep hole, is to stand up and say, wow, I'm going to come out of this a much better business and a much stronger leader, and much more connected with my team through this, you know, this challenging time that businesses are going through.
Wow, it's such an amazing story. Suzanne and David, thank you so much for your time. And David, we're glad to see that you're doing better these days.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us. It's a real honour.
Thank you very much.
What an amazing couple. Stay with us. Coming up, we'll meet the Aussies behind the kids' favourite Real Pigeons Fight Crime. Hollywood is now calling them, and